Hey yo, it's Brian here. Today, not talking about the San Francisco 49ers. In this one, talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and their recent firing of head coach Urban Meyer. Yes, it's kind of interesting to talk about this because he's a college coach, and this case, it didn't really translate to the NFL. And want to talk a little bit more about that because a lot of people are talking about it, and I'm going to be chiming in on this about teams outside the 49ers. But let's talk about some college coaches. First of all, the 49ers did beat them a few weeks ago. They won, 30-10, something like that along those lines. And yeah, they absolutely dominated. Kyle Shanahan just imposed his will on Urban and his team. They ran the ball, for almost 14 minutes in the first quarter, which is absolutely ridiculous right there. And you don't really see that too often in the NFL where a team just takes a whole quarter just running the ball and chewing out the clock essentially. And that's how they got to the dominant win over Jacksonville in that week. But Urban Meyer, he did not have a good tenure, as we all know, in Jacksonville. 2-11, did not work well on the field and also off the field as well with all the shenanigans that he was going through as a head coach. I mean, he was operating Jacksonville like it was Ohio State or Florida, and for me, I'm always skeptical of college coaches going into the NFL. Even Jim Harbaugh, that was a little bit more skepticism, but the difference with Harbaugh is he used to be a decent NFL quarterback back in his playing days, and he was able to use his experience to coach the 49ers, and they had a ton of success in San Francisco. But Urban, he never really had any NFL success. I mean, he's had players that gone to the NFL, great players actually. I mean, Nick Bosa, that's the guy I look forward to when I mention Urban Meyer. You have Ezekiel Elliott in his prime. I mean, a lot of great players, except quarterbacks come out of Ohio State during that time, and it was a fantastic time to be an Ohio State Buckeye in terms of winning and going to the NFL potentially as a first-round pick. But behind-the-scenes issues at there and in Florida, not good at all, and from all accounts, he looks like a terrible person from the way he was running the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, he wanted to be the big boss, the BMOC of an NFL team, and that was not going to fly with NFL players, and that's the big reason why he failed. Also, I don't think he's even a good football coach. I mean, if you look at his offenses, I'm not the biggest football expert in terms of knowing X's and O's, but it looks like a very elementary school, middle school, high school offense, and that's why a lot of the NFL quarterbacks at Ohio State, like a Dwayne Haskins and I think Terrell Pryor, and back in the day, Art Schlichter, this is like way before Urban Meyer. They've all had terrible quarterbacks coming out of that school, and that's the big rule right there. Hopefully Justin Fields can change that trend, but right now they are absolutely terrible quarterbacks in the NFL. It's not working out. It probably never will work out unless somebody breaks that trend. I mean, I looked at this whole situation in terms of the day he got hired all the way until his firing a few days ago, and I'm just looking at it. The biggest things that caught my eye was the time he went home from the loss against Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football to go hang out, and he was with that woman that was not his wife. I thought that was pretty funny, but that's probably not funny at home. It's just a weird situation right there where a coach just goes home not with the team. I mean, if you want to go back to Columbus, I know it's close to Cincinnati, but go home to Jacksonville first and then take a flight to Cincinnati. You got to be there with your team. You got to be in there and support. You're not going to win games all the time, so you want to be there when you're at your lowest, and that's when you just respond as a coach, and he did not do that at all. It's like he didn't really care if he was coaching that much in the NFL. I think he wanted the big bucks from Shad Khan, and boy, he probably got a lot of big bucks from Khan in his time in Jacksonville for the 13 games that he played in the NFL, or I should say coached. And the biggest guy I feel for the most is Trevor Lawrence, number one overall pick. I mean, I think this guy could be a great quarterback. And the trajectory that he's going right now is going really down because of his leadership, play style, all that cool stuff. But he needs to have a better coach, and I hope he can get better coaching in terms of the next head coach of the team in 2022. I don't know who they're going to hire. Are they going to hire the next hot offensive coordinator? Are they going to hire somebody experienced already, like a Jim Caldwell, potentially? Something like that. We'll see what they do. I mean, I'm rooting for Trevor. I really want him to do well in the NFL, and so far he's done terrible because he's thrown a lot of picks. He's turning the ball over like crazy. I think the game against Tennessee last week, he had 4 interceptions, which is just absolutely ridiculous when all the other young quarterbacks are throwing maybe 1 or 2 per game. But, I mean, 4, that's a pretty alarming rate right there. And some of it is his fault, don't get me wrong, but the coaching is not really doing him well. And Urban has a big reason why they're doing absolutely terrible right now in Jacksonville. I'm using that word quite a bit, actually, is absolutely. But, I mean, it was really that bad in Jacksonville. When they hired him, I just was not a big fan of this hiring, and I thought he was going to fail, and he pretty much failed right there. But, I mean, as analysts were talking about the situation and the best team to go to, Jacksonville was a good place to go to because it has very close ties to Florida. Gators, that school in Gainesville, and he couldn't go to a big market team because everybody would be chewing him out. But Jacksonville media, if you're really into the media, they'll try to help you as much as you can, and they couldn't help him in this case. And then the kicking with kicker Josh Lambo, I mean, what the heck was that? That was just absolutely bizarre right there. I mean, even the worst of worst coaches in terms of performance would never try to demean somebody like that physically, of all things. That's just whatever. I mean, that's just college football petty stuff right there. And college coaches, if you're coming to the NFL, you better be careful, man. These NFL players, they don't play around. They have stuff to do outside of football that's not just trying to make it to the next level, because they already are in the next level. They're trying to get better at playing football at a professional level. They want to make Pro Bowls, Super Bowls, all that accolades that you look forward to in order to try to make it to the Hall of Fame and have a very good longevity career. Urban Meyer, he just didn't really inspire his players from the looks of it. And I'm not behind the scenes in the locker room. I don't know what's going on in Jacksonville, but I mean, the big reasons why I believe he failed in Jacksonville was not connecting with his players, not being there for your players, especially after losing. I mean, they did lose quite a bit of games, but they had some nice wins as well. But the losing, he wasn't there to support them. And the way he treated his coaches and his players, like college style, like kids, essentially, it wasn't going to work out, wasn't going to fly, even for a terrible team like Jacksonville. So I'm hoping that they can turn it around in the next few years. I mean, I've always wanted the underdogs to win big time, but, for the looks of it, Khan and his ownership team is not looking really good. They're looking pretty clueless in terms of being able to hire coaches, but I will give them credit for giving people time to try to build a team and try to do as much as they can within a few years. But Urban, I mean, you had to fire him because of the way that he was running the team and the way that everything was coming out from all the players. Everybody was frustrated publicly, and it was not a good situation to be in if you're Urban. So if you're an NFL coach, or I should say college coach, please be careful coming to the NFL, really. And for Urban Meyer and his future, I wish him the best in terms of whatever he does outside of football, but in terms of being a college football coach or NFL coach, that's probably not going to be happening anytime soon. And I hope no college team decides to hire him at all, because, I mean, he's had a lot of trouble everywhere he's gone to, from Florida to Ohio State until now in Jacksonville. So, yep, that's pretty much it, you guys. This was kind of a bit of a rant in terms of college coaches coming into the NFL. And Urban, I'm not a big fan of him, but I wasn't even a big fan of him at Ohio State. I mean, I've heard things, in college, because I'm not a big college football fan. He did beat Harbaugh quite a bit, actually, when he was in OSU. But other than that, just wasn't a big fan, and it just wasn't going to work. That's all I got to pretty much say. So, yep, that's pretty much it, you guys. Please let me know what you guys think about Coach Meyer. What was his big failure in the NFL? Why did he fail? Please let me know in the comments below. And, yeah, this is kind of a change up from the 49ers stuff, and I hope you guys did enjoy this. And I'll talk more about the 49ers tomorrow when I do a final preview for the game against the Atlanta Falcons. Bye, guys. Love y'all. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Niners all day.